Got the door back on, and I've had to strip out all the guts of the door again, or most of it, because I need to make it now for the other side, and I can't remember what I did, so I've got to copy this side. But that's basically it. I'll just shut the door, and without shutting it too far, I've took the plastic protection off here, and that's the perspex window with a little folding corner. That's an idea of what it looks like. And I've got to paint this frame. You know, that's just a bit of black protective paint I put on to stop it rusting, but it's plastic, bit of tinted plastic. It's not too bad actually, but I think I may go for glass if I can get them done. That's the general idea. Don't think it looks too bad. And yeah, that's it. Okay, just been making the second handle. That's the driver's side, and that's the passenger side. Just got to put the strip on this piece here, and I'll bend that piece over at an angle, but it's basically there. So that was took me some time. This handle will go there somewhere, but I've got to put a plate on there to bolt it onto, so it'll be like that. It looks okay on the other side, and then I've had to make all this aluminium rising piece so that I can put this cover on with the rub strip on it, and that fits on there like that, so that will cover all that rubbish out. And then this will be covered with I haven't made it yet, but a vinyl cover, so the handle goes on the outside somewhere there. I might actually make a little sort of tapered cover to come up over that, to sort of cover that, and then I'll cover that in vinyl and screw that on separately. I'll put some more rivet nuts in here so that I can, a bit like these rivet nuts, so that I can then put that piece on separately and screw it on. I think that the stainless steel screws against the black vinyl will look quite good, because these will be stainless steel. I'll look quite smart. But that's it, I'm nearly done. Thank God for that. Right, what I'm going to show you now is this little clevis, which goes on there with this, whoops, that's not the bolt, with this little shoulder bolt goes through that hole, and when it's done up, it'll only do up so far because it shoulders out on a little tube, and that's just an M3 Allen key screw with a tube super glued on, and that's a different kettle of fish altogether. I had to make that, but I shall show you how I've done that now. I took this piece of, on mine I have to have a wider gap across the two blades than the piece of where the thread is, so what I've done is I've clamped two strips onto that thickness of steel, or whatever you need, and then squeezed in the two sides in the vise around. What I'm going to use is this piece of steel, put that in there, and that will be silver soldered in, and then turned up on the lathe to make it round. So that's what I've done. Okay, what I'm going to do is silver solder these parts together, and I've just made up some flux paste, which is a powder. I've mixed it in this little jam jar, and this is actually, you can get easy flow. but this is actually tenacity, it's called, and it's actually, I think it's got a higher sort of, wow, I don't know, melting point, but it's more tolerant of high temperatures, and you need to keep it high temperature one if you're trying to silver solder carbide tips onto steel bars, which is what I've used it for, but it does the same job. So whereas easy flow number 5 is it or something, I think that's the number, it all disappears before the carbide tip silver solders, whereas this tenacity flux is still working, keeping the metal clean, while the carbide tip solders, and it can be done. So this has all been done with one hand, so I'll have to do it again in a minute. So all these surfaces have been cleaned out, a little bit pitty, but they're not bad. And put that on there. I shall line this up again in a minute, but this is generally what I'm going to do, just a bit of weights to keep it in place. It'll all suck down with the heat. And put it on some bricks, it helps reflect a bit of heat in. And that's basically what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to heat that up with a blow lamp, and using, I got some of this silver solder wire, heat it with a blow lamp and melt this in, and those two surfaces will be silver soldered together, or 3 surfaces, 1 or 4 surfaces, 1 2 3 4, or 1 or 2, I don't know, how many do you want to say, or is it 3 pieces, 1 2 3, I don't know, there's a debate, how many pieces is it? I don't want to solder the bottom bit on though, and I don't want to solder these bits together, but that won't happen. Right, don't know how good this is going to be, because the camera in the way, blow lamp roaring, and fingers, that is. I've just been making out the silver solder, oh I can anyway, but I don't suppose the camera can now, you can't see it. You don't see that on the camera. If anyone doesn't know, flames are hot. On top of my finger verifies that. But never mind, it'll grow back. Alright, let's put that down out there. Now the next great thing is, don't pick that up for a moment, because I've done that before and it all falls to pieces. But that's about it for a second. Okay, another top tip, have a little pot of water available, because you may not be just cooling down the metal in it, you may want it to cool down your fat fingers in it. As I've done very often. There. Okay. Because all these pieces, you think, oh, I'll pick that up. And they are absolutely glancing hot. Oh, there it's not. It's not that hot actually. It's cooled down now. That just takes the initial shock out of it, so it doesn't. This brick isn't that hot. I haven't put my hand on that brick. Right, now that looks a bit of a mess, and you can still see the silver solder as the gold line there. It's like, and when it's hot, it flows like water, so it's flowed right in to all the joints, and I can see there's a flow of silver solder all the way around. I haven't cleaned this up yet at all. It looks like an absolute pile of crap, but I'm sure you it will clean up. So that'll be the next job. Okay, just clean this up. I've just started it. Can't do it with the camera in the way. This isn't as easy as it looks. That'll do. Now you can see wherever I'm to, you can see it's not going to focus. Why doesn't it want to focus? You can see the gold, the silver solder in there. There. See the line of the silver solder and the silver solder. Yeah. Alright, I'll finish this off and then I'll get on with the next bit. Right, okay. I've cleaned that up a bit more, and I've marked the centre hole best I can. There. I should put that in the lathe by clamping it in the vertical slide there like that, and then I shall line it up like that to get it in line with the tool of the lathe, or a drill bit or a straight edge in the lathe, and then move it up and down and left and right to get it to align with a pointer in that centre punch hole. And then I should drill a hole up the middle and tap it out M5. Okay, I've just squared up the clevis in the vertical slide. It now aligns with that little centre punch mark on this pointer tool, which I can't get it to show it very well, but that's basically what I've done. See, by moving the vertical slide up and down and in and out, I've aligned up that centre punch mark, and I've also squared up the piece of material there so that it's square coming out of the lathe. And basically what I've done was put that ruler up against it there. You can feel when it hits, and squared it up with the tool piece. Okay, that's just centre hold it. I'm going to drill pilot hole. I'll put a little bit of coolant on it. Just cuts better. Nice and accurate, wouldn't it? I go in and out, just clears the chips. Put a little bit of lubricant on the tip again. That's it. Now I'll go for the tap-in size drill now. Tap-in size drill bit is, well, it says 4.2, but I put a 4.3 in because it drills slightly under 4.3 anyway. And 4.2 seems to be a bit tight for the tap, so I'm going to use fraction tight wider hole, so when the tap goes in it'll be pushing the metal around, it won't pinch up on the tap so much. And I like to drill up to a 4 point, I might have drilled that 4 mil and then use this sizing drill so they don't wear out the good drills. I only use them for making the hole the correct size. Like for instance, this is a 4.3, so I use that for making the correct size hole, but I'll drill it out to say, well, that was a 3 mil hole, so I only had a little bit of work to do with that drill bit. Okay, got that tap started. Just take that out. Bit of coolant. A bit of shite, I don't know what that is. Right. Like to use as much of the tap as you can because these teeth don't get used very much. Yeah, it's probably good enough because I've managed to. Let's find a screw. Ugh. It's not very good. Okay. I think it's only swarf in the hole. Yeah, I expect. That's lovely. There. So now that's the hole tapped out. What I've done now is I've put a bolt through and just nipped a nut down on top of it in the position I want it. So I've put the nut faces parallel to the steel just to make it look good, not that it's going to have any purpose whatsoever, and I've dipped that bolt in a little bit of oil and wiped it off, so as I threaded it out through, it's an oily bolt, and I've just nipped that down slightly so that it's just starting to clamp that together. Then I'm going to put a bit of flux around there and silver solder it, and this end is in the vise so that it sucks the heat out so that it doesn't get too hot and all fall apart. Right, going to just silver solder that on now. I like bloody glow lamps. Done. Job's a good one. I'll just clean that up and see what it looks like. All I'm doing is just wire brushing it. I'm not doing it very hard. I'm just letting the bristles ride on the surface so the tips are scratching the flux off, and it's absolutely looking perfect. There's a decent little fillet of silver solder all the way around, so I'll just show you that if I can. It never focuses. We can just about make out there's a good fillet of silver solder all the way around, just about make out the fillet. Now, will the nut undo? Is the next great question. Yeah, now it's coming out. So that's, I've had these where they sometimes the silver solder gets underneath and solders the bolt in, but I think because you put some oil on it, and when you get it hot, the oil chars and makes the bolt dirty and stops it sticking. I think that's my idea anyway, and I'm sticking to it there. So I just need to round that off, and that's done the same job as that. So I just got to then machine this piece off with the next job. I've mounted the clevis on a bolt in the chuck, and I've spaced it away with a nut so it's not right up touching, and I've put it on that way round so that as the tool touches it, it's trying to tighten it onto the nut further so it won't undo, and I've centered the end of the bolt so I can run it as a bit of support in a revolving center, so that the whole lot now turns on a arbor, which is a bolt. And now I shall just turn off that by machining away from the chuck in that direction. Well, that's the plan anyway. Okay, that's the state of it after I've turned it off. It's round there. There's still a bit of a flat there and a bit of a flat there, but I can't take it down anymore because I'll be reducing the amount of metal from this flat plate where it's silver soldered onto the square piece in the middle, which was originally a flat piece of metal. So if I machine it down anymore, trying to get this side round, I shall be reducing the thickness this side, and then there won't be very much material silver soldered together. So I'm going to leave it at that and then just smooth that off with a file. That's all I'm going to do, just to make it a bit tidy up. But that's good enough. So basically all I done was, actually I turned it going from this end towards the chuck. I sort of went in and turned both dials at the same time so I could turn in and along at the same time. So I could turn that slight taper on the end there. So I turned a double turn at the same time, so which takes a bit of practice. Okay, now I've turned that off. I'm just emerying with a strip of emery cloth, and it's amazing how good a piece of rubbish can be. Just with a little bit of work. That's more or less it. So doesn't look too bad now. A little bit thin there, but that's okay. There, round it off. Looks very similar to the other one. It's good enough. And that one fits on to there. So that's it. I've just got to make the little bolt to go through there, and that'll be the clevis for the cable. And that cable runs off, and as you open the handle, it pulls on that cable and opens the door latch. Done. Okay, The last bit was to take a bolt, make a little tube out of a piece of steel. So it's a piece of 4mm, turned up 4mm, and drilled out 3mm, slid on to the bolt, and it's just put a bit of super glue on the thread and wind it on, so it's just stuck on, and that allows that to go through that hole and get jammed. Why is it doing that? Oh, there it goes. There. So it can't bottom out, it can't squeeze the two jaws together, and undo it. For some reason it's gone tight. That, so hit the camera, if it's over there, so when that's actually in the car, it'll be like that. That will come out of and you put that down through. For some reason that's gone tight. It wasn't as tight as that a minute ago. That's that. And if it is tight, this will free it up. Some brasso. Some brasso on there. And work it about. It'll free it up. Which it is. And for some reason it's still a bit pinchy. I've absolutely no idea what's gone on, because it was working lovely a minute ago. Ah, it's getting freer now. Yeah, that's pretty good now. It's quite free. So that's it, that's that bit finished.